So what you can see behind me is a little radio put together, and hopefully you might just be able to hear it. Let me see if I can tune in a bit better to something. Not that way. Now, well, hopefully you got a flavour of this. Go on, must be something better than that. Anyway, so hopefully you heard that it was picking up at least one station, and that's good enough for me. It's just a proof of concept thing, really. The idea was, well, one problem we've got here is immediately outside that window. There's a power line going right just outside the window that's feeding the power to the whole village, and so Mainsham is a real pain in the arse for radio stuff here. And I was thinking about like good ways of filtering it out, and also I had on my mind perhaps making a radio that would try and pick up Radio 4 from the UK, and for that it'd have to be really tightly tuned to probably 198 kilohertz on long wave. The nearest transmitter is in Cornwall, so it'd have to have lots of gain and have to be really tightly tuned to get that, and also to try and cut out the hum from that lot. This was a bit more less grandiose ideas, just trying to make a radio that worked based on op amps that was cutting out the mains hum from the mains hum interference. And so what I've got is tuned circuit that's tuning capacitor and a ferrite rod out of an old radio, old knackered radio, medium wave coil there, and the circuit, I'm just using, it's a quad op amp chip. I'm just using 3 of the 4 op amps in it. First stage got an op amp as a non-inverting amplifier directly one thing I've missed off there, there's also a 100k resistor across there, because it was just too sensitive with a very high input impedance there. It was just, the Q was going, it was just going straight into oscillation. From that, that's got a gain of, I keep fiddling with that value. It might be about 66 as I've got written there. It might be less than 66. I think I actually changed the gain down to 20 or so in the radio frequency. Then it's fed to a better picture here. A Butterworth filter that's got a high pass filter that's a cut off at about 100 kilohertz to knock out the mains hum and most of the harmonics that I'm likely to be suffering from. On the breadboard, first op amp, which is the amplifier bit there, you see the resistors hanging around it, messiest bit of breadboarding ever. The filter is the second op amp down here with the capacitors around it. Then I've got that going to a simple diode detector, just a diode pump into a capacitor there to demodulate it, and the audio frequency is then just passed to a gain of 10 op amp at the end, and the output of that I've got going to some computer speakers. So it basically works. I'll need to up the gain a bit to be able to get a sensible radio signal, but the fact that I can get it, the two things have been able to use op amps. The bandwidth, it's TLO 7.1s or TLO 8.1s, the op amp, I'm not sure, 8.4 or 8.7. No, sorry, 7.4 or 8.4. The quad ones, TLO 7.4 or TLO 8.4. Quad op amps, unity gain at 3 megahertz. So the medium wave, long wave kind of frequencies, you call it 500 kilohertz, won't have full gain of the op amp, but I was hoping it'd have enough to be able to be useful, and it turns out it is. In fact, one of the problems I've had so far is their little addition that I've crossed out and then added back is a bit of feedback that's the medium wave coil on there, and next to it is a coil for feedback. That's probably about 50 odd turns. That's about 5 turns on a ferrite rod. And so I've got it going through a pot and a capacitor just to give a bit of feedback there, to be able to control it a bit, the sensitivity and whatever. And because the big problem is, if I just tweak that a little bit, very easily. Oh, hang on, there's a better signal. There you go, there's radio. But if I tweak that feedback just a little bit more, which direction? That way? Oh yeah, there we go. Come on, show up. There we go. This thing here, what you can see on the screen there, is coming from this. It's a Bitscope gadget. It's got 2 analog channels and a bunch, I can't remember, I think it's 8 logic channels. I've not used the logic channels yet, but the 2 analog channels are very good. This isn't the actual scope proper. This is what it calls Bitscope meter, which I've got on because it's got somewhere here. There we go, frequency. 540.3 kilohertz, which is what I'd have expected with that medium wave coil there. Anyway, it goes straight into oscillation if you only the slightest bit too much feedback. So now, apologies to anybody listening on that frequency, I'm probably transmitting a bit of noise. Well, that's quite satisfying. The main thing I wanted to figure out was whether I could use an op-amp filter to cut out the mains hum. I mean, ultimately what I want it to do is for the radio nature stuff and get actual audio frequency radio waves, which are much lower down, much closer to the 50 Hertz mains hum. But the fact that it's happy to filter like that, it would do anyway, but you know, it's kind of satisfying. And there you go, radio.